Martin, you are shaggy, dude.
I need a haircut.
You are
Hey, I've got a pair of scissors.
right. Whoever's been
For
doing your hair
clippers.
looks good, Val.
Huh?
Whoever did your hair looks good.
Oh,
I
that
know.
would be Mr. Quarantine. He's done my hair.
Mr. Quarantine.
Just so happens that the more quarantine time I get, the more my Jerry's looking like quarantine too. Him and Martin.
Unabomber.
Hi there.
Hi.
Made it.
Yeah, quarantine hair is no fun for me.
Got it. No, it looks good. You're doing fine.
Thanks.
Keep up the good. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate that.
Right.
Are you saying I'm not doing fine, Jim?
No, you are doing fine. So
I mean, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. It's not. Hey, it looks good on you, Martin. Don't worry.
no, it looks.
I'm not worried.
I knew you were.
Some of that gray is starting to show through a little bit. That's a good.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of that.
Yeah. Tell me
I
about
can
it.
tell you how to fix that problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who are we waiting on?
Are we all here?
yeah, I was gonna say
I don't need it.
we're ready to go.
All right.
Sorry, John Strong. That's about it.
No, we don't.
No, he
Oh, he's not
doesn't
coming.
have anything to present. So
Okay.
All right. So let's call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of May 18th, 2020. It's 7:03. And let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Martin, you want to lead tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag,
Flag,
United States
of America, and to
to the republic,
for which it stands, one nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first on the agenda is a public hearing for proposed ordinance number 215 for the fiscal year 2021 budget. And I believe I have my marching orders here that I need to read. Commissioners of Poolsville, opening statement, ordinance number 215, May 18th, 2020. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of this public hearing is for the Commissioners of Poolsville to hear public comment on proposed ordinance number 215. Pursuant to section 82.13 of the Charter of the Town of Poolsville, the Commissioners shall adopt a budget that provides a complete financial plan for the budget year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. The proposed budget includes a tax rate equal to the constant tax rate. The real property tax rate shall be 0.1781 per $100 of the assessed real property value. Copies have been available online at www.poolsvillemd.gov. The record in this matter currently contains 1, ordinance number 215, proposed fiscal year 21 budget and tax rate. 2, a copy of the May 4th and May 11th, 2020 issues of the Frederick News Post containing notice of public hearing. And 3, copy of the news flash on the town's website. Public comments were permitted by persons contacting Town Hall by 4 p.m. on Friday, May 15th to receive further information on how to be able to testify via electronic format as advertised in the Frederick News Post on May 4th and May 11th, 2020, and on the Town of Poolsville website at www.poolsvillemd.gov. Written testimony was also accepted and needed to be received by 4 p.m. on Friday, May 15th. And now I'll turn it over to you, Seth.
all right, certainly. I'll go over a short PowerPoint presentation just to inform the public of where we're at. Most of this should be fairly familiar with you all since we've been through the budget process on a few different components and through a workshop. So let me pull up the Adobe version here. Let me share my screen with you all. There we go. You all see where it says public hearing, Poolsville budget?
Yep.
Thank you. So here's the budget schedule. Of course, we met on March 7th to sort of lay out the budget, which was open to the public in the conference room in Town Hall. But the formal process was the budget introduction, which we did on on April 20th. And May 4th, we had the advertisement in the paper as was announced, and also on May 11th. So now we're at the public hearing adoption. The public hearing. The adoption will be June 1. So at this meeting, we're not voting on the budget. We're just going through the public hearing process. Nobody has signed up to speak. So the highlights of the budget is it focuses on current economic conditions. Clearly, things have changed since we met in March 7th, and we've talked about that through a few meetings, but this should pull it together. So there's budget reductions, as always, trying to find areas to trim when possible, but we eliminate expenses, defer expenditures in the future years under light of our current economic situation. And we'll discuss some of the shortfalls that could potentially be occurring. This does propose a 2% increase in the water and sewer rates that we've talked about before. Some other highlights is that we will continue with this year's street paving program, which was scheduled for this year. We hope and expect some savings with the prices of oil as they have dropped this year. There's a new truck for this year. We've deferred the purchase of the other truck that was proposed this year. There is some equipment that we'll be purchasing. And then we, of course, always continue to modestly set aside funds for future projects. This is our pay-as-you-go program. One of the I&I loans will be paid in full in March 2021, which is exciting. However, in this year's budget, we've allotted some dollars to investigate a potentially highly suspected area that has infiltration. And so that'll be the investigation of it, which probably then will require presumably a loan to help address that I&I issue as well. So we're just taking one I&I and probably replacing it with another I&I within the next 18 months. So revenue shortfall and budget cuts. We've sort of went through this a little bit. We've got about nearly $450,000 in revenue shortfall. So in terms of cuts, we've got about $281,000 either in cuts or deferment of proposed expenditures. We have $133,000 that we'll use from the rainy day fund, the unrestricted as they call it, to help supplant us through this budget cycle. And then there's about $32,000 in other revenue that I propose will come in. So here's the reductions. I won't go through them in great detail. I sent this out in an attachment to you. You can see most of this is equipment in that regard. We still have to make a decision what's going to happen with, summer recreation. We said by June 1, but there's one area I want to highlight that we did sort of take a pretty strong cut to, and I think we need to revisit the issue a little bit. And again, we had our budget in order on March 7th, which did propose in that March 7th tentative budget pay increases and at least maintaining the bonuses from last year into this current year. Of course, we know events have significantly changed since then, national emergency, COVID, all those sorts of things. I don't need to go into that. But we need to kind of revisit this element based on a few factors since then. Why we give pay bonuses, I think is important for people to understand is that while our pay raises, let me be clear, the reason why we give bonuses, the pay raises themselves are essentially COLAs. They're cost of living to keep up with inflation generally. And that's what we benchmark our pay raises onto. But the bonuses themselves really have three key functions. One is merit and dedication of our employees, the good job they do and the dedication to the community that they provide. The second is retention of our employees, and it's our sort of appreciation to them. And then it does provide a little additional pay beyond COLA. So it may get them, quote unquote, ahead of the curve with some dollars that are provided towards the end of the year. in light of all these sort of changes that have happened, there have been some reduction in cost. The fireworks is not proposed to happen this year, which was 13,500. The post prom, is not going to happen. That's $2,200. Spring Fest is not going to happen. That was this weekend, and it's unfortunate that had to be canceled. That's a saving of 5,000. Again, we're uncertain about what's going to happen with the summer recreation program. That could be a savings. There was a limited overtime this winter due to the fact that we haven't had strong, cold temperatures, breaking pipes, or the need for salt to be spread to melt the ice, or any snow removal. Generally, it's been light snow as well. So that's kind of some of the savings, but all scales have two sides. So, we have to also remember that the reason why we reduced the bonuses to begin with was really the fact that we wanted to retain employees. The number one factor was to retain employees and our team members. So that was kind of more important than the bonuses when we first took a look at this. Some of those savings could be used if need be. Some of the savings from bonus reduction, the thought process was and still is a little bit that if we needed to keep folks on the payroll, we could use some of those exchange of dollars from the bonuses to payroll. We also have to note that some of these savings are and are not exactly savings, because some of these expenditures would go to next year on some of those expenses that will presumably occur next year. For example, the post-prom, Spring Fest, fireworks, and other things. So we're just shifting it from year one to year two. We do rely on 45% of our income taxes. We do rely 45% of our budget on income taxes. Of course, we know that if you're not working, you're not paying income tax. So that's likely to have an impact on our budget, which we've built into this budget as a reduction already. We don't know if there's going to be a winter downturn. That's a real factor. There's, at this point, no reason to believe that there won't be, quite frankly. I really don't like to speak, that dire, but based on all the indicators, it looks that way. So that's really to say, we're not sure we're at the near the bottom of the trough. And that's something we have to think about as we look at our budget overall. However, having said all that, looking at all the factors and inputs in here, I do think it's probably reasonable to double, the amount that we're allocating and budgeting in the bonuses from the 9,000 that we cut up to 18,000. Now that's still about 10,000 short of where we were last year in terms of the bonuses. However, I do think that at the December 7th meeting, we should reassess what that amount will look like. We'll go in budgeting 18,000. It's double what we have now, less than last year. But we can look at December 7th of this year before we give those bonuses as to where we're at tracking revenue and tracking where we're at in the state of the world. It seems to be a way to try and provide some level of middle ground while also being cautious in this. I'm open to discussion, but that's where I'm at with that. So I don't know, that seems to be the major change in the budget since the last time we discussed.
That's good, Seth. I'll start with that. I appreciate you giving that breakdown, and I also appreciate you talking about the items that have left money in the budget that were supposed to be expenditures, like the fireworks, Spring Fest, overtime. And I appreciate the fact that you brought up the point about the budget depends on income tax for funding. I'm curious as to how much income tax we brought in. I don't have that in front of me. Do you by chance have that in front of you as to the numbers?
Yes, I can, but I can also tell you what I've reduced it by, which is a considerable element here. Income tax. So what we brought in FY19, the actual budget, was 1.4 million, almost even. The FY20 budget, which we're still in, we're at about 1.3 million brought in. And we still have two significant quarters that usually come in with the bulk of the amount. So, excuse me, let me rephrase it. FY19 actual was 1.4 million. We've budgeted and proposed that we'll bring in 1.3 million this year. We're sitting a little shy of $1 million on income tax. However, typically May and June, we get a significant amount of income tax at that time. So we're tracking nicely, even though it's down. What's going to muddy the water, and this is further than you want to go, is since the state has now stated that taxes are due, and so is the federal government on July 15th, we now have two budget years sort of
Crisscrossed.
crisscrossed. Yep, exactly. But I think we'll be able to sort that out. I say all that to say we look pretty good at tracking at that 1.3 for this year.
Okay,
Can you-
that's good.
Can you explain that a little more? The crisscross?
Certainly. Simply put, taxes are usually due April 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is the state revenue sharing portion of that comes to us by the close of our fiscal year, which is June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the federal and state governments have said taxes are now due July 15th,
I see.
which extends out into the next fiscal year. The way to solve that simply is we know year over year what we've typically tracked each month. August is usually fairly low. I anticipate to be fairly high. You take out that difference and account for it in the prior year, if you will.
So do you have an estimate of what you're thinking is going to be the difference in the income tax?
I will just, okay, let me say that. So to recap everything at the highest level, last year, FY19 was 1.4. This year, we're still proposing 1.3. Now, I have dropped it by about $120,000 for this upcoming budget cycle
Mm-hmm.
based on historical averages from what happened in 2008. So I looked at what happened to us in 2008, and we dropped by about 100,000. I'm adding a little bit more to that on side of caution so that we can buffer ourselves.
Great.
Right.
Seth, I like the idea of putting that extra money aside, and then you can decide come December what's appropriate. You know, like if we're in really tough straits at that point, you know, that's one thing. And if we're doing better than we thought, then, you know, another thing. So.
And it's only good for this go round, as we all know, only because of the virus. You know, as Martin, I'm with you on that, you know, we have to have some flexibility there, but normally never
Right.
with something we would do, because we're good at budgeting. We've got a budget history, as Seth has gone back on us a few times here, that we can kind of count on. But I would never want to get in the habit of having to revise and look and, you know, adjust as we go forward, unless it's something that's really, you know, significant. And it could be significant this year.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that, you know, we don't know what's going to happen between now and November as far as funds and monies that we are going to be putting out for what we thought was going to be expenses going forward. So we don't have an exact, you know, mark on what's going to come in, and we certainly don't know what's going to go out either. So we have to be, you know, really dutiful in babysitting that budget because of this virus. So I think this is a great start and a revisit to the budget, Seth. So thank you for putting those numbers together. Unfortunately, it kind of is leaving everyone all over the country in limbo a little bit, not knowing what's going to happen going forward. And so we just have to take that into consideration and revisit it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, these are unprecedented times, obviously, and you know, I keep reading articles about other municipalities, other governments, you know, drastically slashing their budgets. So we're, you know, this is not something unique to Poolsville.
And let's make sure we state this, because I think we're all feeling it and thinking it, but to just get it out there clearly is that this is clearly not the situation we want to be in. And, our message always wants to be to our we'll want to be to our employees that we value and we appreciate you, and I think we've made some efforts already to do that, but just put that out there clearly. I mean, this is probably the last situation we want to find ourselves in with a dedicated group like we have.
And your recognition of that with the revision in terms of the potential bonus pool is, I think that'll be acknowledged and appreciated by the employees. They didn't come screaming for this,
Mhm.
but it is something that, I think we all agree that yes, there might have to be some savings there, but we've spent the last 10 years investing in our people. And we want to make sure they know that. And especially in a year where, as you said, no overtime, no snow plowing, yes, they're going to cut grass, but no events. Those are all significant. And I said, I appreciate you, squeezing things, and recognizing that at the same time.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yep, agreed.
agree.
I
Thanks,
shall-
Seth.
I shall move forward. There's a last slide. Here's the overall highlights. There is proposed about $702,000 in general fund projects. Again, some of that's part of the pay-as-you-go. Water and wastewater projects, about $425,000. Any of the general operating expense, about nearly $2.7 million. Water and wastewater operating expenses is about $1.365 million. So that's the high overview of the budget. And that concludes my presentation on the budget. Are there any questions?
Nope, I think that's it
Nope.
for me.
Okay,
I don't have any. Thank you so much, Seth.
certainly. You're welcome.
Very good, Seth.
Thank you, Jerry. There was supposed to be some folks who wanted to join us at public comment. I mean, I guess, but I don't see them in the queue, just so you know, Carrie.
Okay. Were they given a certain time to join us, or?
I sent the invite. It has the time and the arrangement. So,
All right, well, let's go through our commissioner reports first. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to juggle various documents. Okay, so well, I'll start out with something positive. Congrats to our very own Jay Gullo, who just received the Maryland Municipal League's Lifetime Achievement Award.
Whoop, whoop.
Well done, Jay.
Way
Thank
to go,
you very
Jay
much
Bird.
for that. I
Very
appreciate that.
good.
Very
It's
happy.
directly related to your time spent here in Poolesville.
Well, yeah, everything helps.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
So I'm sure everyone, has heard by now for the governor's press conference last week, where he announced this kind of slow open for most of the state starting last Friday, which did not include PG County, Baltimore, and us, Montgomery County. So to me, what that means is we really need to remain vigilant in our efforts, in our social distancing, not engaging in activities that are non-essential, continuing to practice our, covering our faces when we're going into businesses, and just continuing to follow the rules as best we can without going crazy. I certainly understand the need to connect with people, and none of this isolation is really very good for our mental health, but we do need to stay serious in our efforts to both flatten and decrease the curve. We now have 18 reported cases in the Poolesville zip code, which is not a massive number, but in my opinion, 18 is 18 too many. I'll also add that there's a PES student who's contracted the inflammatory syndrome caused by COVID. Even though he tested negative for COVID, his doctors think that the negative antibodies test was actually a false negative. So, it's quite mysterious and very scary, and I'll refrain from using the family's name here, although they did share information about this with several Poolesville folks. And then yesterday, mom actually posted on social media about the situation, I think in an effort to bring awareness to the fact that this is really happening. It's happening here in Poolesville. It's happening to a child. And their son is at the PICU at Walter Reed. And mom said yesterday that the labs are trending in the right direction. So that's good to hear. He's able to walk. Apparently he couldn't walk for a time. He's still going to need to be in the hospital for a few weeks. So I've reached out to mom on behalf of the town. Just, gave them our well wishes, asked if there's anything that we can do. If anyone's connected to the family, is listening, I just want them to know that, we're with you, Poolesville's with you. In terms of the roadmap to recovery that our county executives put out, it's pretty non-specific. I was going to try to pull it up here.
He just sent something out just a little while ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
During Andrew, council member Friedson's thing, he said no pools, private or otherwise, would be open.
Oh, all summer, huh?
It was on, I think it was on WTOP. I was listening to it. And they said no pools, whether they're county pools, public pools, other, association pools, etc.
Yeah, everybody should have an email. It's it just came in from Ehrlich around 7:10.
Oh wow, I had not seen that.
No,
yet.
it just came.
Wow. Well, this is what they put out the other day. When will Montgomery County open? So, they've put out these 5 bullet points. Sustained decrease over 14-day period of new cases in an environment of increased testing. The second one, sustained decrease in hospitalization rate, which is, what Hogan has been talking about since day one, really. 3, sustained decrease in the percentage of ICU beds in use. 4, sustained decrease in the number of daily deaths. 5, sustained decrease in the number of COVID-19 related patients going to county emergency rooms. Yeah, and I know that Andrew Friedson and I talked to Evan Glass, and they really are trying to get more specific data posted to the sites, because sustained decrease is not really so specific for us in terms of tracking this information, and it's really not up on the state zip code tracker yet. So that's the first I'd heard about the pools being closed all summer. But what Evan Glass has said is they're being told in the next day or two that they are going to have more of this actual data. So I hope that that's the case.
Well, they didn't say it was going to be closed all summer. What they said was they were going to be closed. If
Right.
things change, I assume they would open them, but that would have to go all the way green. In other words, be at the very right end of the chart, where things are a lot better than what they are right at the moment.
Right.
And there's one other issue with respect to this. I was going to bring it up later, but I'll bring it up now.
Sure.
Is I understand from listening to Andrew Friedson's during his conference call. I think it was Shayna Davis Cook, who's the manager of Chevy Chase View. I can't remember exactly. Anyways, they talked about Beach Week, which is really Beach Month, at various places like Ocean City, Deep Creek Lake, and other mass recreation places is coming up. And there are probably many high school seniors and college students are planning to go. And this could really be serious. And I think we ought to ask parents to seriously consider, ensuring that their students understand that their attendance could have a very serious health impact. They may not themselves be seriously impacted by the virus, but their parents, and for those who have grandparents living with them, that could be a really serious threat. And then there's the other thing. When you start mixing people who don't know they have the viruses can mutate and they can become more virulent. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but when you read about what happened a long time ago in 1918, which was much more severe than in a way what we're experiencing now, but still it was probably the most severe in the last 2 centuries. I'm concerned that, this could be another way where what everybody fears most, wave of viruses, of the virus impacting a second wave of infections. So I would hope that people seriously consider talking with their college students, their high school students, if they're planning to go, to really understand what could possibly happen.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I just wanted to, put that up on the screen.
If you guys don't mind, let's put it in a Poolsville perspective here. What's the decision on the parks right now? What are we doing there? That's what people are going to want to know.
Yeah, do you want, Seth was going to talk about that in his report. Do you want to just jump to that, Seth, or you want to? Oh, I can't hear anybody.
Seth's mic looks like it's off. Jay's off. Martin's off. I don't know what's going on there. That's
well,
back
why don't we go through reports and then, because I know Seth was going to talk about parks. Why don't we?
Fine by me. Doesn't have to be now, but it's.
Yeah.
I don't really know if it's our part to be talking too much more about how to handle the virus. So I'd like to see how we do it and what the plan is for how the town's going to handle our facilities, et cetera. So
well,
whatever.
The other
good.
things I wanted to just announce is, I like to announce it every time. Fill out your census. Make sure Up County gets counted.
We're at 80.3.
All right.
So we just in about 2 minutes ago. So hopefully we'll get it 90%, which was
Great.
But we still have time. We still have time.
The majority of the other areas in the county we're doing much better in. So
well, that's good to hear. Primary election, June 2nd. It's all absentee ballot this time, as far as I know. That this is a first for Maryland. The voting materials are going out now.
I got one today.
Morgan actually got his today. I haven't gotten mine yet. And it's funny, it actually says April 28th on the top. I guess
Yeah.
They
There's April 28th
for the cost to reprint them. And then I also wanted to announce the Montgomery County Board of Education virtual forum is happening next Wednesday, the 27th, and that's 8 to 9:30. And then I'll just end my report with some good news. The County Council voted unanimously on the MCPS CIP budget. And I'm sure some of you will talk more about this, but the good news, of course, is that in terms of Poolsville, we're happy to see that for major capital projects, the PHS budget is still being kept on time. So that's good, but hopefully you all will have more to say. I know you had a fair access meeting today about how we do still keep vigilant. Commissioner Dickerson, would you like to go ahead?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I have, and this was a great 2 hours spent with the Canal towns. I was on a Zoom call with them this week for 2 hours, and it was a wealth of information. So I'm going to try to keep it brief and talk about, what affects us. I know Seth's going to get into one of the things that they want is for us to choose some signage, and we're going to do that. I think during this, you have that on there, right, Seth? Okay. So we'll talk about that. They basically talked about the brochure is ready to go to print. Directional signs are needed for Poolsville. We're going to go through that. They talked about the Trails to History brochure. They talked about the Poolsville blog that was done, and I'm going to email that to everyone. My apologies. I had a crazy weekend, but they did write a blog about Poolsville, and it's a really interesting read. So I'm going to email that to everyone this evening so you guys can all read it. And I'm actually going to put it out on the town page so that other people can see it as well. So it's a really cool write-up. Monthly meetings, you know, again, Wednesdays, I think it's the second or third Wednesday. I'll be trying to get on those as regularly as possible. There are 2 Facebook pages. One is called Canal Towns Partnership, which I think a few of us are already following. And there's a second page called Support Local Canal Towns. That's also a really interesting, you know, Facebook page. So let's just stay on top of that. Other than that, they're looking for photos for the area. I talked to Martin, our, you know, our own personal photographer. He's already sent some to them, and he's going to get in touch and send some more out. So that's about it. It was a really great meeting, and I learned so much about it. I am thrilled that we've joined. Really happy that we're a part of that process now. Destination Maryland magazine, which they've retitled, is actually coming out in January of 2021. And the feature article will be Canal Towns. So we want to make sure that, you know, they have good information, and Martin, you have good pictures. So that's all I have for that. Savile Foods continues to kill it every week. I think we had 68 orders last week. You know, can't thank Jim enough, and of course my husband as well, for being there for the delivery every week. Couple other things I had somebody reached out to me from General Custer about a sidewalk issue, and I think they went out and looked at that today. So thank you for that, Seth. I do appreciate you guys getting on that.
Welcome.
Also, I had a call or a message from another resident about some of the Spates Hill trees that were replaced. So I think you guys have probably been in touch as well. I sent her your way today as well, Seth. So thank you for that. And I think that's really about it as far as announcements on my part.
Great. Jim, you want to go ahead?
I'll just say for fair access. Thank you.
And Jerry?
Hold on one second. Let me just, okay. The minutes are incorrect, because last time we met, I said that the bridge was over the Monocacy River on Route 28 was going to be open from now on with just limited lane closures. I got an email, I think it was on the 15th of May, from Miss Elizabeth Harris, who's the district community liaison for SHA District 7, and said that due to the remaining work that includes cleaning the bridge, removing the paint, prepping it, and for painting, etc., that they're going to have to close the bridge basically every weekend between now and September. So, I mean, that was like, I received that right at, you know, I think it was on Thursday after our meeting or whenever it was. But so that's one thing. The good thing I mentioned was the about the what you call it, the census. The other thing is I've been communicating with the Mr. Andrew Klein, Chief Administrative Officer for the County Council, on the COVID-19 related reimbursement expenses. And basically what he said was it was going to be similar to people who have health insurance with two different companies. FEMA will be the first payer and primary payer, and that the county will be the second payer. However, unlike PG County, which is put away approximately, I think it was 15 million of the money that it's been given towards saving it for the 27 municipalities in the county, in its county. Montgomery County isn't setting anything aside at all. And during the conference Zoom conference call with Council Member Friedson today, I mentioned that, and he says, well, PG County is a different animal other than us, and that they don't really believe, at least the impression I got, in putting anything aside so that municipalities would be insured to have something if that would be available in case FEMA didn't pick up all the expenses. So, and we just received some emails from the county concerning the FEMA process, which I believe Seth, you received, as well as Carrie. So we'll just have to see how this is all going to play out. And then also finally got an answer from Dennis Enslinger, who's Gaithersburg Assistant Town Manager, concerning Employee of the Year Award. And as you know, we nominated Preston King, was our nominee. And Dave said that Dennis said, although that Preston had a very strong nomination, there were several other candidates and the selection committee struggled with which one to choose. However, it wasn't Preston, but they said, go ahead and submit them for next year. And then today also, Governor Hogan had this announcement concerning COVID-19 about the program to support Maryland seniors who've been affected by the virus, and that there's a caregivers corps, which is able to quickly deploy volunteers and other resources to homes of seniors who need urgent assistance with everyday tasks when their typical caregiver becomes unable to do them. So I sent this off to a friend of mine who I know whose husband is in serious, has serious health issues. And I'm sure you all may know somebody else in the same boat. And if you've received the governor's email, then you could send that to him as well. And it sounds like something that's really worthwhile. And it'll help a lot of people. I know my father, when my mother was sick after her stroke, it was quite a feat for him to take care of her. And, you know, a little respite from having to do it is welcome, both meant by the physically and mentally by the caregiver. And let's see, anything else? Nope, I think that's it. I'll save that for later.
Jim, actually, do you want to go ahead and talk fair access now, because we actually don't have it anywhere else on the agenda?
That's fine, no worries. So I just emailed everybody the agenda for today's meeting, so you should have that in your email. Look at the stuff that we spoke about today, number of different items, and yes, you know, Carrie, you're on the money with your original. We're not celebrating yet, but obviously the purpose of putting the fair access together, at least initially, was to get us a new high school. So today, you know, fair access has grown into something that's a little bit different than that right now, but the overall goal is still, of course, new high school, period. It looks like that's the way it's going to go. Well, nobody's celebrating yet until we get to pass the vote on Thursday. But once that happens, you know, there's probably going to be some sort of virtual celebration of some sort amongst the committee members. We've got plenty still to do, but that was, you know, that's number one. So today's meeting, we just, we're going to put out, and by the way, we will put out notices on various things. It's not a matter of telling people, trying to get back pats. What it comes down to is that we've spent the town's money, taxpayer money, in pushing this agenda through. And so we're going to spell that out in a information release after hopefully what is going to be the successful vote, so that our residents know that, you know, this money, this taxpayer money that we've spent is going to come back to us, you know, probably whatever, 1,000-fold when it comes down to it, or a couple 1,000-fold. So that's what hopefully is going to happen on Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll have information going out. Also, too, on our agenda, we created a voter guide for the next coming the BOE primaries, at large and District 4. And so this is a two-part election, one that's coming up for a June 2nd election, and then another for later on in the fall for the Board of Education. So I've sent everybody a copy of the questionnaires and then the answers that were developed by all of the candidates. We're not prepared to release the names just yet for the people that we approved, but we will be over the next few days, the people that we're going to be recommending. It's a great list. You know, there's some top candidates running for top positions. So those will come out to everybody. You'll see those released, and then we'll also release our plan for promoting. I mean, we're going to end up doing something that's very similar to the Apple ballot for the first time, but it'll be for Poolesville centric and the Western County centric candidates that we want to endorse. So those will be coming up here before too long. Then we've also been talking about as Fair Access kind of pushed us into talking about telemedicine and how that would work. We didn't spend a lot of time on it today. We kind of roundtabled the amount of discussion about really what is the reach of high-speed internet, how much of an influence does it play on future telemedicine, and our endeavors to bring better medical to the Up County, whether it be eventually through a county supply facility or something that we can get going on an ad hoc basis, trying to look at it like, how we looked at our rec program, or how we look at our seniors, or how we look at all the initiatives that the town has embarked upon to make lives better for our residents in particular, but also in the Up County. So you'll be hearing more about that as time goes on. I mean, telemedicine is definitely something that's we're just scratching the surface on, and there's going to be plenty more discussion on that. Finally, we also talked about the CIP a little bit. As we said, what does this vote mean that's coming up, and where is that leading us? Really, the rest of the discussion has been tabled until we see exactly and know what we're going to have in place. We're going to continue our lobbying on our council members. The BOE vote is going to be important to us. We really want to, Link said it best earlier today. We've spent years and years and years being ignored by our council members and our Board of Education members. So that's changing through Fair Access and through basically an advocacy group that the commissioners never could be. And we're speaking for the Up County. It's obviously hopefully going to pay some dividends here at the high school building level. But, we reviewed BOE candidates today and just said, well, are these political types, or are these people that actually care about the Up County and the Western County? So there was a lot of talk about that today too. So, and then once again, more on the 2021 CIP as time goes on. And that was it.
Could I just add one thing, James?
Plus whatever Jerry's got.
No, well, yeah, well, at list again, during Andrew Friedsen's Zoom conference this afternoon, this is really funny. Not really, but it's funny. It seems the council staff didn't figure in that there was an additional $20 million that they didn't have and need to make cuts on. So he just found out today, and they'll be talking about it tomorrow morning or sometime tomorrow in a council Zoom meeting. So there's an additional $20 million of cuts that they have to make.
Great. When does it end? Probably never.
I don't know.
Never.
One thing I do want to say too, Val, appreciate again. I don't think we would have gotten there without Friedsen's leadership on this. And
I agree.
We've never really had the outreach to the other council members that are not at large or in our particular council member. And I do believe that Andrew's played a pretty big role in communicating and gathering support from those guys as well. So I really appreciate your advocacy for him. And he's been, we couldn't really have asked for better.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I will say, I'm always tooting his horn, but it's not just us. He takes care of every area of his district to the same magnitude. And it's amazing because we haven't really seen much of this kind of participation in that.
Oh, no, we did from Roger Berliner.
Well, yeah.
You can't forget that.
Yeah. I know. I remember.
I wouldn't mind calling them out because that was an absurd time period for us.
I remember it well.
Yeah. Anyway, so that I just want to say that about Andrew, and and I know you guys feel the same way, and Jerry and all of our dealings with on a fair access standpoint, it seems like he always pops up as a guy that stood up for us. And also too, as you know, you guys know that his communication style is such that he really does generate, good feedback and good resonant feedback. So he's done a great job. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks.
Great.
And
Thank you.
Jerry, did I wrap it up? Did I cover it?
Yeah. One thing, Councilmember Friedson said is, I guess there was a large discussion, or there was a discussion about Poolsville High School being in the CIP or not, but they finally worked around to either seeing his point or their other points, and they were able to get it in. So
Good news. Yep. Of course, the best news.
Yeah, and thanks for everything you guys are doing for this. I mean, it's just, we've made such strides. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, if Link's listening, he's played a big role in that.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And,
So true.
Kevin's done a tremendous job too. So all of the members have. They've been really, everybody's contributed.
All right, great. Martin.
The only thing I have is the news that, and I hope I don't murder his name, David Terrio, is that correct?
Yes, Terrio.
Terrio. So Carrie and I met, and Seth actually met with him last week, and I know Val's been involved in this, and Jim is the real estate agent. But he's opening a cafe, as we all know here, but maybe the people watching aren't aware. It'll be, yeah, there it is. It'll be part cafe, apparently part visitor center, and part farmers market. And it sounds like it's going to be a really, really good project for Poolsville. Something that has the potential to pull people in from down county, from across the river, to enjoy food and farmers market in this area and recreate in this area. Something that I think that the bigger box stores don't necessarily do. I mean, not that they don't have their place, but this is I'm excited for this project, and he seems to be a good business person. And so, yeah, that's what I have.
And don't forget the impact on the historic, all of our historic assets. I mean, I know you're not forgetting it because you're deeply involved in it, but that's going to be, to me, that's the take home from this, is that
Yeah, I agree.
it'll be a mix of fine dining and cafe with locally sourced materials. Plus, if I said it could turn Old Town Hall into a full-time great.
Yeah. And yeah, to what you said, Jim, it's in a beautiful old building, and that also reminds me of something we had talked about. This was probably back pre-Zoom meeting days. We had talked about me approaching Sarah Rogers, right? I had approached Sarah Rogers about getting signs put in, welcome to Poolsville Historic District or something to that effect. And we exchanged emails, and she said she was going to get me the name of a vendor that would do that, and we would have to pay for it up front, but we would get reimbursed at least partially in the form of a grant. And then I never heard back from her, I realized. So I sent her a follow-up email yesterday asking if we could get that information, because I think that's something that, we don't have a huge historic district, but I think a sign identifying it would help, would be good.
They did talk about some of that signage stuff, Sarah Rogers did. And from what I could tell, Martin, it's a rolling grant. So I think it'll be fine. Yeah.
It's just that we have to do it up front, and then we apply for it. And I think we get half of it or something like that. But, it's probably not tons of money, and it's probably worth the money we would put into it.
Yeah, super exciting. So I'm hoping that everything goes smoothly for David and
Yes.
Sandy through the county.
Mhm.
And we know that Poolsville will make it as smooth as possible.
They're well versed in stormwater management. That's going to be their biggest.
Yes. Yeah, well, great.
Very good.
Martin, do you want to mention about HMD getting a grant?
I don't have the details in front of it, but I know they got a grant. Yes.
I
That's
can't find
great.
the email.
No, it's good news. I think Abby, who, as you guys know, my wife is on the board of HMD, and I think that she mentioned it last night or the night before that they applied for and received a grant for, I forget the amount of money, but I can get that information for you for next week or the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great to know.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Wow. So next we have public comment. Do we have
Yes, we do. They're there. There will be two of them, and I'll bring them in right now. Two people talking on one topic. Hello, Janet and Joy. Just a reminder that, can you hear us? About 3 minutes approximately. And then, when you're done, I'll send you back to the waiting room. But thank you for joining us tonight. And Gary's the president. You ready, Gary?
Go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Joy Zucker-Tiemann, and I'm joined by,
You're good.
yes,
Go ahead.
hi, everybody. I'm Joy, and Janet is joining me as well. Unfortunately,
Uh-oh.
Do you have the YouTube stream on, Joy?
I'm going to shut my YouTube off.
There you go.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So Janet and I have talked, and unfortunately we didn't get to hear, or I didn't get to hear the majority of the meeting. So I don't know where the town stands on sort of a public awareness of where we're going as a town through all this COVID-19. But Janet is is in the mental health profession. And we have talked about some of the needs that we see in the community, and we wanted to try to see where the town is going so that we can see where some things that we're brainstorming might fit in. One of our biggest concerns is the fact that we have a very large community of, at the moment, a lot of kids who are stressed out by what's been happening. Obviously, the parents are stressed out too. I'm one of them. Janet and I both have kids in the elementary school. But the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of topics that are not necessarily being discussed openly, and they're major stressors. And we want to find a way to be as proactive as we can about the resources here in town and those available around us that don't necessarily mean that people have to call their insurance company and find a therapist and network and whatnot. But we want to make sure that people are aware that there is help right here, right now, in a way that maybe they've never been really aware of before. And Janet, I know we're on a time limit, so let you sort of swoop in here and give your perspective specifically.
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'm Janet Hosford Lamb. And as Joy had spoken about, I am a mental health professional, and I also do a lot of work in corporations. So what we've been noticing and what we've been doing is just trying to make an awareness campaign for people that have been talking about this very unique time that we're in, and providing some resources, some uplifts, trying to keep wellness and well-being at the top of mind. And some of the things that Joy and I were talking about was really getting the discussion started and hoping we can create some level of, if I dare use the word, campaign to talk through how we can keep this at top of mind for folks, and to reflect upon our community. As always, we've been a community of mutual support and sharing, and we want to assure that people have a one-stop shop as best as we possibly can to provide specific resources, not only for mental health, but also for things like, how are we going to get for example, a college student in our homes to help our children who are talking about being depressed and stressed, and having a healthier summer to keep them active and keep their well-being moving in the right direction. So that is one of many examples of how we can potentially circle around folks and help people through this, as I said, unprecedented time.
So what's been happening on a daily basis is kids are attending school in the elementary school. There's no more than an hour of instruction a day. At least once a week, the school's counselor comes into each and every classroom and has an opportunity to talk to the students and try to talk to them about the emotions that they're feeling. But we all know that in less than a month's time, school is over. And MCPS is not obligated and doesn't currently have any plans to continue a conversation going through the summer. And we as parents are very well aware that the likelihood that we're going back to school on a 5-day week come the end of August, which is when we're supposed to return to class, is not going to happen. And we have been warned in different ways that we are likely not going to see a classroom 5 days a week until 2021. And it is very difficult as a parent, let alone as a child, to hear that message and not have anywhere to go with the feelings that come along with that. And we want to be, and I keep coming back to the word proactive. I have seen too much, and I have reposted a lot of things on Facebook that have happened in other communities because they're not taking an active role. And the suicide rate is going up rapidly. And the higher, or the more densely populated areas, those numbers are increasingly going up. And I don't want Poolesville to be part of that. And we are in a very unique situation because we're in the up county, because we are isolated in some degree. That's a positive. That's also a negative. So we would like to try to find a way to open up the conversation to include our religious community, but not in a religious way. But we have some of the best motivational speakers within each of our houses of worship. And we have some incredible motivational speakers within our community, and we have lots of counselors. So how do we pool that in a way here in Poolesville, no pun intended, but be able to do this in a community way that only Poolesville can, and that we can make that happen as quickly as we can in a proactive way.
Well, Joy, I'll start by saying thank you for, bringing this to everyone's attention, although it's in the back of all of our minds, I know. The Facebook post that you saw, I know many of us have seen it and been seeing it for well over a week. It was heart-wrenching, and it really makes you think about, what a child goes through in their day-to-day life, not just isolation, but add isolation to that. And it's, it's a cocktail for disaster. And we all know that. So I know from my perspective, all I can do is offer to help in any way that we can put our minds together and get some conversation going amongst families. Maybe we find a way to set up a Zoom channel for kids where, we have a motivational speaker that comes in once a week, and it could be it could be different people, or it could be the same person. And they talk about, the motivating aspects of, life and being isolated and being in quarantine and not seeing your friends and not being able to play sports and not being able to, do all the things that we love. So I think it's a great concept. And I think, if we can find a way as a town board to be involved, I know that there's none of us that will not partake or support that idea.
Janet and Joy, have you seen things happening in other locales that are working? I heard you mention resources a number of times.
It's more, I can't say that I have seen things working elsewhere because I'm busy dealing with the day-to-day challenges here and trying to brainstorm what we can do here. I actually started on Friday. I am running an hour Zoom session on Friday mornings for first graders. We call it the breakfast brunch. Because I have Zoom, I can have up to 100 students. We don't have that many students in first grade right now in Poolesville, but we started the conversation this past Friday, and hopefully that will increase again this week, just to allow the kids an opportunity to be funny, to be fun outside of their classroom. They can have their breakfast while they're doing it. It's before their class. It's just something very different. I will be starting a Zoom cooking class for kids on Saturday morning where they'll be involved with their parents. There's no fees for anything. This is just, trying to offer something that is lighthearted and useful and, just positive. But, we talked and threw around the idea of, is there a way to use Wayland Commons in the coming weeks? Is there a way to bring community leaders together on the stage with a very positive message? We allow families to come in, even if we have to, spray paint the grass the way we would normally spray paint the street for Poolesville Day, and create sections and allow families to come and still have social distancing there, and allow a conversation, allow an open channel opportunity to allow people to congregate in a way that's safe. And I know that that word alone may scare a lot of people, but at some point the congregating will begin. And I'm hoping that because we're coming into a summer, because we know that Poolesville Day is one of the biggest days of the year here, and that's right on the heels of summer, that we are looking to a way to make that happen. And if that is part of what our approach needs to be on the heels of what the county executive decides, since of course we are still in a stay at home, despite what the rest of the state is doing. And I totally understand it. My neighbor has a daughter who's a nurse. We hear the numbers about Poolsville whenever I walk outside, and I can get an update on any given day. I'm happy to hear those numbers as long as the numbers of suicide and death don't increase.
Yeah, it's hard because, with my event planner brain, when I hear about issues going on in a community, my thoughts immediately go towards, well, let's plan some things where people are, utilizing each other for support. But right now, we're not supposed to be together.
Right.
And so it's extremely difficult. I'm concerned about outreach to children, but I'm just as concerned about outreach to the adults.
Yep.
To be honest, I take a lot of walks right now, and I see it on everyone's face that I pass. It's hard on everybody.
Yeah.
And
before I forget, I just wanted to find out, is there any current conversation at all with the town and the schools in any way to recognize graduation? Whether that be middle school, elementary school, or high school?
The schools are supposed to be handling that individually. I know the high school has put something together, but I don't know about the elementary school or the middle school. But the high school, the teachers, the staff, and the parents and the students are supposedly putting something together. And
Okay.
basically what was said in a conference call a long time ago, and I think it was with the board,
It was with the governor's office.
governor was with the board, the lady who's in charge of the Maryland Board of Education. She said it was up to each individual county and school to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, when I asked the question, Joy, in that conference call, she basically said that there were advisory boards being created in every county and every district. And I also reached out to Mark Carruthers. So we do know, because an email went out basically saying that there's going to be some sort of a county-wide graduation recognition, but then the individual schools will also be doing. Mark said we will be doing something of our own. So that's all we know at this point.
Okay. There has been one other effort, and I don't know why it was squelched a few weeks ago when it was, but I want to be able to find out from here if there is a mandate from our commissioners and our town manager. A number of people have put together a Facebook group for upcoming birthdays and celebrations. And people were very responsibly decorating their cars and in their cars doing drive-bys by the given home of whoever the recipient was. And it was very popular. It went on for the first 2 or 3 weeks. There were birthdays almost every single day being celebrated throughout Poolsville. And the Facebook group that was generating it was very specific. We meet at the elementary school, stay in your cars. We parade from there to the given address. We go around the block twice, and then you go on your way. It was halted very abruptly a few weeks ago, and the people who organized it have not come back and said why they stopped. And I just want to know, has anything been relayed from the town that you don't want this happening?
So I was involved with that group at the beginning of all this. We started doing the birthday parades, and that was before the stay-at-home order. And at that time, actually, a couple of police officers made me aware of the fact that it's a tough one, but you're really not supposed to be on the road unless you're driving to something essential, right? So that was a couple weeks ago, probably more like a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So, now most of the state has started this kind of slow open. Hopefully Montgomery County will get there soon. So, I think that's kind of the reason why, the birthday parades said, oh, maybe this isn't appropriate, and kind of halted it. I know other communities had started doing it and then stopped, but now I'm seeing communities starting to do those kinds of things again. And I don't know if it's for me to say if that's appropriate or not yet.
But to answer your question, this board had nothing to do with any of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, as the town manager, Mr. Rivard, and our commissioners, do you have any immediate objection if they resume and people are still, they're in their cars? It's nothing more than the drive-by. They're in their car, and they're in their cars and they go back home.
I don't think it's for us to
To say yes
comment
or
on,
no?
Joy.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we have to follow, we have to follow the county executive's orders, and, I personally, unless someone else wants to kind of pipe in on this one, I don't think that's for us to say. We're asking our residents to follow the orders of the county executive.
It's very like the position that the principals are in right now.
Yes.
It's very hard for them politically to say, okay, let's do our own graduation or let's do our own event, when they're being told by their bosses and the county council and the Board of Education and the governor that they can have a virtual graduation. And beyond that, it's going to be hard to get much of an okay other than that from, yes.
Carrie, you bring up a good point in terms of what can and can't be done. So I appreciate you bringing that forward. I think, just when you asked, has any other community done anything else? I just think about what we do in critical situations or after a critical event that happens, more like a debriefing or a psychological first aid.
Mhm.
And this could be an opportunity to think about psychological first aid as more of a resource driven rather than a face-to-face sort of situation, because I think that is a difficult event to even get behind right now. So if we can think about it from offering and delivering that sort of quasi similar psychological first aid impact on communities, I think that may be something to kind of springboard into the conversation, just kind of putting it forward.
I
from
agree
their
with you
perspective.
100%. I just don't know what that looks like.
Right. And you're right. No. And that might look like many things or just something very simple, because, time is time, right? And who we have to think about that. But might be something to kind of put together and maybe bring forward.
Well, why don't we talk more about this, offline? And if other commissioners are interested in getting involved with this, I'm very interested in, throwing around some more ideas, because you're right. This is, our mental health is is really what we're
everything.
talking about here, all of us.
And we know we're a responsive community. When
Yes.
people ask me, I tell them there was a night I was baking. It was 11:30. I needed a half a cup of sour cream. Neil posted something on the Facebook page. We had 6 offers in less than 2 minutes. He was out the door. We had it. We were on our way in the middle of the night. This is a town that responds on the good, the bad, whether you know each other, whether you're complete strangers. We spent 2.5 hours searching for a dog for a family the other day. We don't know the family,
Right.
but we could not imagine the hardship that family was going through. And they all had to go to work first thing in the morning. So the kids and I, as soon as their classes were over, we were out going door to door searching for a dog. This is what Poolsville is. This is Poolsville at its best. And actually, one of the other things that Jen and I threw around was we really wanted to find some sort of terminology or phrase to throw out there as a way of using it as sort of the umbrella. And we sort of came up with Poolsville Strong and otherwise in this together, which I think we're going to hear all over the country anyway, that we're in this together.
Yep.
But using that as an umbrella of how to get other positive messaging out, other resource information out. Janet knows, I said this to Janet the other day, what do you do whether you have good health insurance or not, but you know somebody who's struggling, who needs to speak to a counselor, and you don't know who to call and where to go. And Janet said, oh, well, there are certain groups that have pro bono sessions, and they can get a telehealth call right away, et cetera. But I'm telling you, the average family has no idea where to go. They're just trying to do what they can to survive today.
Not
make
only
it-
do they not know where to go, but they're afraid to go.
Yep.
They're afraid to even have that discussion. And so I'll also send you some information for a group that I organized a few years back that many of you may know about, Families Anonymous. They meet every Tuesday still, and I know they're doing some Zoom stuff, but we'll forward you that as well, Joy. But like Carrie said, let's talk some more about this offline
Okay.
and see, what we can get together as far as sessions for families.
Great.
So
Okay.
thank you so much for thinking about it. And Janet, thank you for coming out as well.
Sure.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
for having us.
Yeah, you're
Thank you very
welcome.
Much. All right, what's next on our agenda? We don't have anyone for public comment, right? Anyone else?
Bye.
You're muted, Seth.
It's interesting. This has gone to muting on its own.
Ah,
Sorry.
there we go. Okay, approval of minutes of May 4th, 2020. Do we have any changes?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve them as presented, but I think there may have been a change.
Yeah, I have one change, and it has to do with, I said that the bridge was going to be open and on weekends now, and unfortunately, that's not the case. So I will submit a change to Seth tomorrow morning.
Just as a point of order, if you're doing it technically, the minutes are correct because you did say it at that meeting and you corrected it at this meeting. So I can note it in the minutes
All
to
right.
make it right.
Gotcha. That's true.
Because it's what we knew at the time.
Right, no.
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes of our 4 May meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business, the COVID-19 update. That's for our town manager.
All right. I wasn't sure if you want to start with anything, Carrie. Wasn't sure if you had.
I think I went over everything earlier.
Okay, certainly. Let me just go over what was discussed about the parks and provide you that information. So just to be clear, today, of course, is Monday, May 18th. Over a week ago, week and a half ago almost at this point, we made a determination about what would be open on May 18th in our parks. And so what we said, the parking lots will be available for use. And activities such as tennis, baseball fields, dog park, and fishing will be permitted. What we haven't opened today, and I'm thinking at May 26th will be the opening date for these following activities, but they're not open today, is the play equipment, skate park, swing, soccer field, basketball courts will not be available for use because those are more or less close contact sort of things, or you're touching equipment by multiple different people. The bathrooms are indefinite. I don't even know if we'll even open them this year, quite frankly, but that's where I'm going to start from because I cannot get consistent, adequate cleaning supplies if I wanted to open them. And I think that's a factor to consider, and the risk to our staff as well. So May 26th, kind of tentatively what I'm looking at with that. I've talked with the Parks and Rec chairperson. They seem to be on board with that a little bit. Of course, we also know that, being in Montgomery County, we're under a little bit different order than the state. So we're, kind of following with that, and we'll see what happens. The play equipment does cause me a little consternation, if I'm quite frank. Some of the other things that can be a little bit more open with, but the play equipment's a challenge. We may just end up having signs that say, it's not clean and you play at your own risk. But as right now, that's where we are at with the park equipment. And well, that covers my COVID-19. I think, relatively a lot of the other things have been addressed in some ways.
One thing, Seth, the bathrooms are still being used by our police officers, at least the ones are at the, and so
Wayland.
we're keeping those clean. to our normal abilities. And
One
they,
restroom.
right, one restroom, right.
I mean,
But there's somebody using that restroom pretty much every day. So I'm hoping that we're still keeping it clean within the best of our abilities. And that's all we can do, I would imagine.
well, that's correct. So we try to keep some cleaning supplies in there and make sure toilet paper's there. I mean, we're not even having town hall professionally cleaned. I vacuum it every Friday evening, so.
Well, thank you. That's so nice of you, truly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wears
Hey.
many hats over there.
Yes, he does.
Bring that vacuum down the street a little bit, buddy. And I don't mean Martin's house. And Carrie's house, all of us.
By the time I get to your place, I've covered most people.
Yeah, it's good. Get started, man.
That's all I have on that agenda item.
Does anybody else have anything else to add about anything COVID related?
I got about 15 more minutes of meeting time, guys. So if we just keep it on moving.
So the next thing is our Canal Towns partnership.
Certainly, I can take that away. The first item under your agenda, you got 2A is the signage. I sent out an email. Really, this relates to putting a sign at the intersection of Westerly Road and Edwards Ferry Road. Edwards Ferry is the shorter distance to Poolsville, so it makes sense to come off there and then put this signage at that intersection directing folks into town.
I think they also wanted to put one at Edwards Ferry.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the CNO itself, that's correct.
Okay.
So there'll be a typical CNO sign that's in your packet, one
Yeah.
that's templated along the whole pathway that they use that will direct folks off of the tow path and then towards Poolsville. And then once you get to this intersection, it'll help direct folks to town because it looks like you could keep going straight. So we want to direct them into town. So once they get into town, at the center of town, we have some wayfinding signage as was pointed on here. We have a historical marker, we have what's on Bassett's, and then there's another signage as well. So needing a kiosk in town isn't really necessary since that's covered. Essentially, if you're all on board with this concept of having the signage provided, they are applying on our behalf. They mean the partnership, the Canal Towns partnership, applying for a grant on our behalf to CSX, which funds some of the signage. It's a rolling grant. It's usually typically pretty successful. These signs are not that expensive. So really on the signage, I just need your approval that the commission is okay with where we're heading in this direction. Just even a consensus on this is fine.
All good on my side.
Okay.
Yep.
My only question is, if we're gonna put it at the corner of Edwards Ferry and
Westerly.
Westerly Road, we're gonna need the property owner's consent to do so.
We're either going to need the property owner's consent or place it within the road right away, whether it be state or county. But yeah, I thought about that a little bit after the fact.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But a good point, Jerry.
Yeah, good by me.
Fine.
It looks good, Seth.
Thank you.
for that.
Then there's a letter of support that came out late today. Carrie had drafted that. She got it to me at 7:30, so I didn't get it. I didn't read it till later in the day, so that's my fault for the late delay. So this is, if you looked over it, there's a transportation alternative grant program that the state funds, Maryland State Department of Transportation. As its name implies, it's non-motor vehicle grants that they provide. And it's one of the ones we were proposing to apply for this year. And this letter would just be a support for improvement of the tow path improvements. As you know, it gets weathered, it gets flooded, and those sort of things, tree roots, culverts block up. So this would provide several $1 million to help make some improvements along a section of it. Carrie, if you want to go into deeper details, I can hand that over to you, but that's really the purpose of your vote. You'll need a formal vote to support the letter recommendation.
Well, I think, I mean, hopefully everyone saw the letter. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're throwing our support for seeking this funding to improve the towpath, and we just need to vote on sending the letter. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good letter, Carrie. Good letter, well done.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was mainly a lot of copying and pasting.
Yeah.
Wasn't too hard.
Yeah. It was a good letter. I just need you to get my name spelled right.
Yeah, sorry about that, Val.
I'm like,
Of course.
well, what I was hoping was
with
that,
with that one change.
yeah, I was hoping that it came from someone else and you just didn't catch it. And I think that's
No.
what happened.
I think I was probably writing it at like 1 a.m. or something
Yeah.
during my insomnia.
It's all good.
All right, so with that one change, do we have a motion to send the letter on?
I mean, I'll make a motion that we, that we support the initiative for the towpath repairs, as a board.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Did Jim leave?
He
I'm
just-
trying to leave, but my battery's running down. I'll be there.
Okay, just
Hang
making
in
sure you voted.
Yeah, I voted.
All right, motion carries. Great. Cancellations, changes of events. Obviously, we don't want to have to cancel anything or make any changes, but we're in different times.
That's right. The big flea, I'd like to postpone that potentially to probably early September if possible. It's just tentative. There's some benefits of having that annually. So if we can maintain that, that would be great. It's, even if we have to retool the event a little bit, we might be able to make use of this event in a different fashion. So I've talked with Kathy. She thought it may be a good idea as well. Unfortunately, we have now crept up on Friday on the Commons. Maybe I should ask, is there any issues or thoughts about the postponement of the big flea?
Sounds good to me.
Good idea. I mean, we might have to,
Revisit it later.
yeah, we might have to revisit, but
As I was just starting to state, we're clearly creeping up on June and July. June is coming quickly, as you probably know. Any event needs advanced planning, so it really makes any events in June pretty much a challenge and limited availability to do such events, I should say, as it relates to Friday on the Commons. So it appears June are out. I guess we can assess July closer to June 1 and make that determination, but I did want to bring the commission up to speed on this. Val, you're heavily involved in the events. You know what it takes to put an event together and make it successful. And of course,
Yeah.
we can't even congregate, let alone the time frame.
Right. Yeah, this is, these are tough times and tough decisions to have to make, but certainly we have no idea what is going to happen in the month of June. We're May 18th.
That's correct.
We're only a couple weeks away from June, and there's no indication that Montgomery County will even move into phase 1. So I think that right now, you're still talking about June, or are we talking about July now?
Let's just stay with June for right now.
Yeah, I'm certainly of the opinion, as much as it's going to break my heart to keep going in this direction, I just don't see how I don't see how we could possibly plan anything, not knowing what phase we're going to be in 3 weeks.
And just so you know, Kathy's of the same feeling, as the person who plans it and, wants to have good, successful events. Certainly, June and the big flea, with Friday on the Commons and the big flea, in June, just no way to happen. We can definitely hold out hope and figure out what happens for July, but the tea leaves, at least for that month, are looking.
Yeah, as it stands right now, the plan was, the opening Friday on the Commons on the 12th of June, which was the carnival. Bark in the Park on the, 19th, and I think Red, White, and Brews on the 26th. So, that's 3 big events that we're going to be pushing off the calendar, sadly. You know, it's heartbreaking for all of us. I mean, for this weekend to have passed and no Spring Fest, you know, we've grown that event into one of, you know, the biggest and most successful events that we have next to Poolsville Day. And, you know, some of these events coming up in June are the same, you know, people look forward to it. The community looks forward to it. And sadly, you know, it's a hard thing to do. I've even thought about how do we host an event virtually, you know, kind of like MML, you know, the what are they calling it? The revisioning, the reimagining. How do we do something, you know, like that would be beneficial for our community to be able to engage? And maybe we should think about something like that, you know, that we could do in the month of June. And maybe Kathy, I'm pretty sure she's listening, could, you know, think about that a little bit. But I personally think that we have to, at this point, make a physical and mental motion to remove the June events. And, you know, I guess
a possibility for postponing any of these events, or is it that every weekend is, you know?
Well, I think that we have the ability to think about planning, you know, a couple of these events later in the year. It's just, you know, at this point,
Well, here's the thing.
Why don't we just go ahead and say June's out, July will make a decision on the first
Yeah.
meeting in May or in June, on July. You know,
And
yeah,
part
I
thing-
agree.
Hard thing with postponing these events further back, which if we can do it, that's great. But the way we've scheduled our event cycle is such that we have events each and every month, you know, till the weather kind of turns, you know, inclement a little bit. And some of these are warm weather events. So we
Right.
start running into other events and conflicts. Now, if we get lucky, you know, maybe we pack September, what have you, but we'll see.
I mean, we have a little, you know, I mean, realistically, we already know. I mean, 4th of July events have been canceled everywhere.
Correct.
So, you know, we're certainly not going to go planning an event on the Commons with hundreds of people when 4th of July has been canceled. So I don't see that really happening.
Right.
You know, so I think that, yeah, we have to just kind of wait this out and see. But I think just a consensus that June is going to be out. In June, we can start discussing
July.
later in the month, July and August. I think we'll know better. I think we'll definitely know better in June where we stand with some of this. But you know, this is a sad turn of events. That's all I can say, is that we're having to lose out on the amazing camaraderie of our community.
Right, and back to the point that our two
Yeah.
residents just made about
Yeah.
feeding the soul.
Yes. So,
All right.
I mean, Seth, what else do you need as far as that?
It's just a recognition that we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
And
Does
that-
anybody else have anything they want to say about that? I know it's.
So if I understand this correctly, June, we're canceling the June events. In July, we'll wait until our first June meeting to decide whether we'll go forward with any of those.
At this point, that's where we can go, meeting to meeting.
Okay,
That sounds acceptable.
Yep.
C, the summer recreation program, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but I kept it on there in the event that you had certain feelings, because I know there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting.
well, he's canceled all the summer camps.
That's correct, and the pool as well. I mean, I handed out the rec updates in your packet. You can see there's summer camps and the pool is closed. And we've talked about some of these things tonight already, and of course, obviously Montgomery County, since the last time we met, has decided to separate itself from the state pack and do its own closure and remain where the state was at, you know, for the past couple months. So, you know, clearly we're in a different ballgame being in Montgomery County.
Well, and so at the moment, we had said we would wait till June 1st to decide about June.
July events.
Uh-huh.
And since we've postponed the summer camp,
Mm-hmm.
to that first week, if we want to wait till June 1, that is fine. But, I just left it on there. I mean, we don't have to make a decision tonight. I just put it on there.
About the camp.
About the
That's
camp.
correct.
Yeah. Well, again, sadly, I don't see it happening, but
Yeah, it seems like the writing's on the wall with this one.
yeah.
But I
feel
guess
like
it can't
that's
hurt to
true.
wait another couple of weeks just to see if anything changes. I can't imagine it will, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, people can't even plan what they're doing tomorrow right now because no one knows. I
Mhm.
certainly know that families would love to be able to plan for something for the summer, but unfortunately, none of us are in a position to do that right now. So I think I think holding off until June 1st is fine, or we can make a decision. I'm fine with either. I think it's hard for us to move forward on this subject only because we don't know what's happening. So maybe we just stick with the June 1st date and revisit it.
Yeah, I think we already announced that we would wait till June
Yeah.
1st to decide. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm on board with June 1st.
Me too. And by the way, as soon as this battery dies, I'm done. So FYI,
All right.
it's getting there. I'm at 5%.
I do want everybody to know that when we have to deliver that news one way or the other on June 1st, that is Kathy's birthday.
oh,
Yes.
of course.
Anyways,
So we got our final agenda item.
I just like to say I like Jim's tack of like starting the meeting with 20% on his phone and like, if you ramble on, you're done.
If you live where I live, Martin, with 11 people now living in our house, it's I had to come to my office where I'm a little bare bones on technology here.
geez, I thought I had a bad
Yeah, it's bad.
7
I know.
or 6. What do I have? I don't even know how many I have. 6.
Right. You tried to send some over my way and we rejected them. We sent them home.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
now I'm down to 3 just because we're talking.
All right, hurry up.
Our last agenda item is the National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and I'll let Jerry start on that if.
Yeah, basically, I got an email from Mr. Mayor Peter Benjamin of Garrett Park, who requested that, we consider this. So I'm agnostic on this, and but I said that as he's a friend, that I would go ahead and put it before the commissioners for their decision. I know there are some people who believe this is another step towards ending the curtailing the rights of the Second Amendment rights. So I'll leave it at that. And it's, I offer it up for what is said in the email and the proclamation.
Well, I'm in favor of this proclamation, although as I sent all of you, hopefully you saw I did kind of slash it a bit. It reads rather lengthy, and so if we consider doing it, I'd want to amend it considerably. My first thought was I like the idea more of having a day or a week of awareness. The idea of sort of encouraging folks to wear a certain color seems, I don't know, a little trite to me, especially in the midst of, wanting to bring awareness to the pandemic that we're going through as well. So I'm not opposed to this, but I did want to just see a little bit of a change.
Just in my final probably minute of time left, I just think this is outside of our bounds, you guys, and just not really that we want to get into commenting on. We've got our hands full already, and we've already got a bit of a divided populace. All you got to do is go on the damn Facebook page, and you can see what's going on there. I just don't think this is something we need to step into, is either supporting or not supporting or creating controversy behind it. It's kind of like we need to go with united themes, and probably united theme is I loved what the ladies had to say earlier about trying to bring mental health,
Mental illness?
or mental health, yes, mental health, and bringing that to the forefront and seeing what the town could do potentially could help there. But this just doesn't seem like this is our bag as far as I'm concerned. We could have every meeting, we could have somebody asking us to support something that's a national issue. I just, in my history, I just think it's something that we don't necessarily have to do, but I defer to the board on it.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
I mean, we weigh in on things like Arbor Day. I don't have a huge problem with it. I don't want it to become a political statement.
Yeah.
I think everyone here is opposed to gun violence, but I would support something like that, but I don't want it to be a political statement.
Right. Yep. Gotcha. Of course, we're against gun violence. That makes sense.
Right.
I'm against gun violence against trees, Arbor Day. I don't want to combine those two. Just about out of time when I went there.
Okay. Yeah, good thing you're running out of juice.
Exactly. And Martin, I'm going to leave this too with you, that you look like one of our council members now, very successfully, especially with the glasses.
Who, Hans?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I
We
just
have
have the
a
full beard though.
doppelganger.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Hans has done right by us. So that's a compliment.
So if there's any critical votes, should we sort of waylay Hans and put Martin in there and it's
That's right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I hear he's in the hot seat right now myself, but
Who Hans is?
Yeah.
Okay.
not where I would want to be.
Yeah. No, he's not afraid to take a stand. I like Hans.
Not at all.
Anyway, so we're off topic, but that was just my 2 cents worth. So up to you guys. You want to put something out there to support it, I'll vote with the body, but I'm just saying I'd prefer not to bring national issues and advocacy groups that, that it's like a little bit beyond our reach, I think. That's just me.
Val, do you have any thoughts?
My only thoughts are sort of right up Martin's alley. I'm against gun violence, but we all have personal opinions and reasons why we support certain things and don't support other things. But I do agree that this is a fine line politically, and we're a nonpartisan board.
Yep, there you go.
The day that the gun violence awareness day is like June 7th, is that right, or something like that?
So
Yeah.
what exactly do they want us to do, Jerry?
Let me go back to the email, which I just closed. Here it is.
We don't have to decide on this tonight, do we? Can we?
Just choose a
We could
building
get down to our next meeting.
or significant sign in your community, and that is lighted, and change the color of the light to orange for gun violence awareness, and issue a proclamation declaring June 5th National Gun Awareness Day in Poolsville.
So they want us as a municipality to do that, or they're recommending that residents do that?
No, we do that. We light up, like we light up the town hall in
Yeah.
purple for autism. They want us to light something up in orange, and then they want they want us to issue a proclamation declaring the 5th of June National Gun Awareness Day. So
Violence
I'll
awareness.
leave it at that.
Well, here's what I think. I think that I could get behind a proclamation that was very nonpartisan. That I don't think we need to light anything up. That was more generic than the one that I saw, and isn't going to like cause an uproar.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we set this for the next meeting and give a look at the proclamation. Take a look at basically what I did is I took out the parts of the proclamation that did speak to sort of redoing the lights at Town Hall. Really less of an action and just more of a proclamation of a commitment to awareness. So
I could go with that. Yeah, I'm against lighting up Town Hall every month with the different causes, and I definitely don't have a problem with autism awareness, by the way.
well,
Yeah,
you know,
because we could do that. We could have a different set of lights for different set of colors every month if it comes to that, which that's just not, I just don't see us being that way, especially on partisan issues.
I do think is an important national initiative, but I do think that it's a little bit of a timing issue. Just
Okay,
like our
go with-
residents, well, just like our residents were talking about, let's bring some awareness to mental health. I mean, I'd almost rather see us like having more of a conversation about how we do that.
Yep, nope, that's nonpartisan.
That's
fine.
fine. with me.
Yeah.
I agree.
How about we just table it, period?
Let's table it for now, and
Then, Madam President, you can decide if you want to add it back onto the next
yeah,
agenda.
let's give it some thought.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Very good, thank you.
Oh, one last thing, Martin, that grant that HMD got was for $4,500.
Yes, I just learned that. It's a matching grant.
Right.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Jim, I hope you don't fall off in the last minute. Let me run through this kind of quickly. We will be opening up some meetings, even if it's by Zoom in June. So we got Planning Commission, more than likely the BZA. You all have your June meeting, and then I think it's the June 15th meeting as well that you'll all have. Let's see, the pickleball court will be opening towards the end of May. If there's any questions, we've got to get the paint down. The weather's a little spotty this week, and then we have to get the net up, which we're ordering that as well. As you may have seen, the liquor store is now open. In that regard, we lost Jim, and I wanted him for this. The
He's gonna go to the
ZTA.
liquor store.
He might be able to hear you still.
Okay, and then the ZTAs, there was a discussion of bringing the zoning text amendments back to the June 15th meeting.
I agree.
We'll put them on the agenda for
Yep,
June 15th at this point and advertise for them.
very good.
So I just want to provide that out there.
Got it.
All right. Otherwise, that pretty much wraps up anything I have to state at this point in time.
That was pretty short and sweet.
Yeah, no need to drag it up.
We were about 2% of Jim's battery life too long.
Oh, yeah, now he's definitely gone.
All right, well, unless there's any other comments,
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Good seeing
you.
you. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Congrats again, Jay.
Guys.
Thanks.